What's good, family? It's your boy Arrington here, Arrington's Most Interesting People. Look, on this episode, I get to sit down with General Manager of WNSB Hot 91, which is a radio station owned and operated by Norfolk State University, Maynard Scales. Maynard Scales has been in the media industry for quite a long time. He's also a professor at Norfolk State University at the historic HBCU out in Hampton Roads, Virginia. And we just have a great conversation, really just talking about radio, the growth of it, where it's going to go for, especially, with the world of streaming that we live in. Podcasting is really climbing up the charts. So we really just talk on, the current state of radio, where it's going to be happening further on. Really, he's still at the same spot, still the general manager. WNSB has continued to grow. We had the opportunity in your city, a podcast that I do with my good friends, comedian Ciroc Fox, Hustle Queen Miss Michelle Young, and shout out to our awesome producer, Mr. Cam Godley. We had the opportunity to be on that station for around 16 months, y'all. 16 months, one of the most listened shows every Sundays. So we had a great time talking with Maynard. So I hope y'all enjoy this conversation on Arrington's Most Interesting People. All right, Arrington's Most Interesting People. Who's next? Who should I bring on?
You looking for somebody interesting to talk to? What's up, my dude? I feel like I'm interested.
What?
All right, so what are we going to talk about? I'm ready.
What's good?
Let's have a conversation. Am I in this? I'm in this camera. I'm in this camera. Hey, am I in this one? Where am I at?
Wait a minute. Maynard Scales, General Manager of WNSB. What in the hell? Look, we're not in trouble or nothing, right? Because I know we be,
Well,
I try to tell Ciroc all the time, man, we got to keep it clean.
I can tell you that my concerns.
Jeez.
Nah, man, I'm messing with you, man.
He's talking corporate, y'all. I'm scared. Man, well, this is awesome, man. Like I mentioned before, we got Maynard Scales, General Manager of WNSB Hot 91, the soul of VA.
Who are you talking to? Are you talking to
yeah, I talk it.
I'm not in focus. I know. Go ahead, man.
Man, look, one of the longest-standing historic radio stations in the Hampton Roads area. We're proud to be on there every Sundays, 12 p.m. WNSB Hot 91 in your city. Man, look, the resume goes on and on. I'm so happy. Look, joining Arrington's Most Interesting People, where I get to sit down and talk with interesting people doing great things in their line of work, and also as well as the community. Good friend of mine as well. Podcaster. You have your career goes long. So for the folks that are unfamiliar with Maynard Scales, tell a little bit about where you're from, all that good stuff.
Well, I came to Norfolk back in 1992 from home. It's basically the Philadelphia, Greater Delaware Valley region is what they call it. Okay. Just outside of Philly, maybe 20 minutes outside of the city. And I came here as a second chance, right? I went to Delaware State first, and unfortunately, it didn't work out. They said something like, leave.
That's pretty easy.
Right. And I was 17. I took like 3 years off. I worked jobs and tried to save my money. And then I came to Norfolk State in 1992 at age 20. Okay. And for the most part, I majored in mass comm and fell in love with radio and television. And I pretty much have lived in this region ever since, save a few years, maybe 6 or 7 years when I moved to Chicago and Detroit. Okay. But, as I transitioned back, I wanted to be close to my mother, like a 4-hour, 5-hour drive, without being close to my mother. Right.
I got you.
And also when, like I said, I was living in Chicago, then Detroit, I wanted to avoid having to shovel snow again. So,
Smart man. And this is the area where the weather's unpredictable too.
True.
You can wear shorts and a fur coat and some Uggs. We don't know how the weather goes.
That's a lot.
It is a lot, but that's Hampton Roads for you. But look, you majored in mass comm. Where did the love for communications, radio? Where did that love come for you?
I'm fortunate. When I was 11 years old, I knew exactly what I wanted to do, and I'm in this industry. I think I was I'm almost certain I was like 9. And I was sitting in the backseat of the car, and I just was asking my father, like, how does that man get in the radio? I just wanted to know how that voice got there. And I've always been interested, fascinated about this industry. And so as a result, I've worked in this industry almost 30 years now, and I've been blessed. This is all I've ever wanted to do in my life.
That's awesome, because not a lot of people can say, okay, look, I'm 9 or 11 years old. I want to do this, and I'm doing it, and I'm enjoying that's so awesome. And I was a health and wellness major. I've always had a passion for radio broadcast. I've always loved radio as well. I'm a person, I consider myself a conversationalist. Like I love having conversations with people, learn 24/7 through a conversation. I had a different avenue once I, hit college, but I love what, the growth, what you're doing with WNSB.
Thank you.
And the radio station, my business, we've had a long-standing relationship with them. With the love of radio, what was your first steps getting into that line? What was your first job?
Well, so a handful of things happened when I was younger before coming back. I was interested in radio or music production or television. And I remember when I left Delaware State and before I came to Norfolk State, I had been so interested. I had found a way to go to the local public radio station, and I just want to see what you do. What is it? And they let me kind of watch, and then I found some recording studio where these guys recorded, demos for, before guys went on to bigger studios. Wow. And I sat and I watched them, and they were doing rock and roll songs or whatever the case may be. And then the next guy would come in and he was, going to record a reggae song. And then a woman came in and she recorded a folk music song. And I was like, this is kind of cool.
All different genres in one.
Yeah. And so that was kind of like where I finally got to see it. I always was curious about it. But when I first opened the mic, for my very first time right here at WNSB as an undergrad. In fact, I can tell you, I came to campus on August 23rd, 1992. It was a Friday. And on August 26th, that Monday, I was at the radio station like, hey, what can I do? We played jazz back then, and I didn't know near as much about jazz then as I do now. But that was like, okay, jazz, I was hoping to play hip hop, but if you're gonna let me touch those dials and those buttons here in this building, I'm in. I'll play folk music. I don't care.
Well, I love what you just said, because one thing I always want the listeners to, and viewers who are watching, like, if you have a love, you want to pursue a field, look, you're going to have to get your feet wet in any avenue. It's not going to be your choice. Like you said, you wish it was hip hop, but hey, as long as I get the experience, I'll do folk, country. That's a lot of people need to learn that, because I feel as though they're like, nope, if it's not this one, I'm not doing it. But it's a matter on getting the experience that's always going to, achieve. So I think that's very important when you brought that up. So at Norfolk State, alumni of Norfolk State, you're working at Norfolk State, that you get your first, job at Norfolk State. And after graduating, what happened after that?
So through college, I worked at 2 different radio stations after WNSB. I worked for a man named Bishop Willis, who had 2 radio stations, MYK and MYA 92 and 96. And when that went out of business, I went to go work for FM 99 and 106.9 The Fox. Okay. And I was in sales and marketing there and promotions as well. And a company called Arbitron, which was, services at that time, all the radio stations for their ratings, would come and visit. Once or twice a year, and I would always talk to the Arbitron rep. And the Arbitron rep, was like, hey, we're looking for somebody to come, be a radio consultant for, these 13 cities, Chicago and Detroit, blah, 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 all the Midwest. And I took a job with them, and that's what took me originally to Chicago. And I traveled much of the country consulting radio and television stations about ratings, about listener and viewer psychographics and things of the like. So. Oh man, it's excellence is occurring, man. My heart is full because as I talked in the previous segment about returning to the university at some point, but being able to work with kids at the university just fills my heart. And so, you got questions for me? I can say stuff.
Hey, no, it's all
I'll
good.
talk.
So look, you last conversation we had, you were talking about being a radio consultant in Chicago, going around. Like, how was that? And how was doing that? And did you learn? Did it help? As far as the resume for you?
Yeah. So I had 13 cities that I directly supported. Chicago, Detroit, Cleveland, St. Louis, Kansas City, that Midwest piece. I had some dotted line responsibilities to places like Pittsburgh, so occasionally Atlanta, what have you. And obviously for the company itself, if a fire broke out, if you will, in Los Angeles, whoever could travel there was supposed to. So those kinds of things could help. So I got to see much of America that I never thought I would see.
Wow.
Right. Like, as a Black guy from, the Philadelphia region, going to be in, Grand Rapids, Michigan just did not ever seem like something that would happen to me, right?
Wow.
Or Toledo, Ohio. And by the way, those are nice places, but I don't want to visit again.
For those listening, if y'all from there, look.
Those are nice places. They're nice places. I'm not sure I want to visit there again, but it's cool. But I got to really understand what radio programmers, radio managers, radio salespeople, what they needed, the challenges that they faced, how to kind of begin to think like three different people. How, can we think like listeners, and so that we can try to predict and serve listeners what they need? Can we think like advertisers so that we can find out what helps sell products? And then can we think in our own seat, and see the world through our own lenses, so that we can understand how the business benefits us while we try to serve these two different parties. So
you learn so many. Wow, that's very interesting. So look, what brought you, back to the Hampton Roads area, to Norfolk State, general manager? I mean, again, where it all started really in the beginning, which is, again, like you mentioned before, you're living your dream. You're having, you're very blessed. What brought you to back to NSU?
It's a long process, but anyhow, it goes like this. So I leave Chicago and I moved to Detroit to work for Radio 1.
Okay. Kathy Hughes.
Ms. Hughes owned at the time 67 radio stations, and I took over the Detroit cluster, where we had 3 stations there. And, no longer does Ms. Hughes own stations in Detroit. They sold them off, and they had been making changes. And so as they sold those off, there goes my job. It's part of the game. If you go back and think about WKRP in Cincinnati, the guy says, if you go up and down the dial, that's how it goes a lot of times in radio. You leave this company, go to that company. And so it's, it's a hazard of the game, but it is what it is. And so I decided to return to Hampton Roads to come back to the university. But the job that I wanted at the university at the time was not available.
Gotcha.
As I worked for the city of Virginia Beach in media, and then for the city of Chesapeake in media. And then this job had come available 1, 2, 3 times. And for whatever reasons, me and the university, we couldn't make a love connection, I always was the number 2 candidate, or they wanted to pay this much and I wanted to make that much, or whatever. And, the stars just happened to align one day, and they were like, you've been over there with the city of Chesapeake for the past 10 years. Don't you want to come back? Yeah. Don't y'all want me back? Yeah. Well, let's do this. And it all worked out last year in 2022. So
that is awesome. And, since being in the new GM, like, what are some of the great things that's happening with the station?
Well, the station has changed since we originally broke air in 1980.
Okay.
We've grown a lot in many ways. We returned the radio station from one part of campus to its original home in the Madison building. And that, and you've been to our facilities. That's a beautiful facility.
Beautiful facility.
And state of the art. And there are a lot of things. We love the music. That's great. And we do and have whatever successes that I enjoy because of Tony Bailey Jones, because of Michael Mazon, DJ Heart Attack, because of DJ B, who DJ B is a phenomenal talent, and all the other people, Ron TV and Scandalous. But we do this work because of Sam Burwell, Braxton Harris, the students that we work with. That's why we do the work. And so if you ask me what's some of the success, I just literally the other day got an evaluation of Sam, who was interning at Wavy TV 10. And they wrote these amazingly glowing reviews. And they said, this guy is great. They gave him an A+ for the class. They, basically said, Wavy TV 10 is owned by a company, Nexstar. They said, you take this letter to any Nexstar station in the country, you're going to get a job.
Oh, man, that's awesome.
And that lets me know that the work we do is important.
So does that talk about, another question to ask, the importance of, radio stations at a university, because not all universities have their own radio station. How important is that?
Oh, it's critical. You mentioned that not all, right? There are 105 Black colleges in the country, 104. I don't know the exact number, but it's roughly around there. There are only 29 Black colleges with radio stations. So what we have is extremely rare. Only a third of Black colleges have a radio station. And it's not that I believe that Sam is going to go on and be on the radio somewhere. It's not that I think that Braxton should become a DJ and that's his lifelong. It's that some kid comes and they're afraid of their own shadow. And by using radio, they become aware and can talk. And that kid may go on to be a teacher or a doctor or a lawyer. It's not about radio. It's about helping kids kind of learn something new. And maybe they will be in radio, or maybe they'll become a teacher, or maybe they'll become a politician, or whatever the case may be. And then also giving kids on our campus a safe space to, kind of explore their own creativity.
Well, it's so funny you said that, because starting up with my business, my first interview was on radio. And of course, I'm extremely nervous. I'm a person where I don't like to do public speaking at all. I'm like one-on-one, keep it moving. That's all me. But radio was a little nervous, but I got my feet wet and I started doing that pretty, often. And then the opportunity came to do an interview on TV. I'm like, what? So, but I thought I put in my mindset of, talking with somebody on radio, and then said, don't worry about, people watching all the lights.
It's just a conversation.
It's just a conversation. So I use, radio as practice, as continuing to, speak better, work on my speaking and things like that. Radio, and we're living in a digital, life, podcast and all that good stuff. But man, I want to continue the conversation talking about the current state of radio. So there have been conversations on, potentially giving up on or letting go of AM radio.
Right.
Now, WNSB is an FM station's been in existence for a long time. We live in a very digital society, so podcasting, streaming, it's all tied up. What do you think? How's the current state of radio, especially for FM radio stations?
Well, I think it's challenging. Certainly. So Been very much struggling with this idea that we have been telling our listeners we've been telling the world, not radio, just everything we do, to be a self-service model, right? You go to Home Depot, they don't check you out. You have to check yourself out. You pump your own gas. When I was a kid, there was always an attendant. You can get full service or self-service. The bank tells you, here's an ATM card, don't come in the bank. And we've been doing that with radio. When I was a kid, and you're younger than me, but even when you were younger, people could call the radio station and say, I would like to hear this song. And how radio stations program anymore, and how, in this market, we have, say, Steve Harvey in the morning across town at one radio station, and The Breakfast Club, and Young Jock, and Russ Parr. The local person doesn't get to call the radio station and ask Steve Harvey or Russ Parr to play this song. And that is ultimately is pushing our listeners to become self-service. And that self-service is I'll plug in my aux cable and I'll leave radio to play the song that I want to hear. And now once we lose them to that, it's hard to get them back. And so as I start to help the station, our station, Hot 91 WNSB, the Soul of VA, rebrand, and the rebranding is not changing the name of the station or the colors. The rebranding is changing the experience. And I want to make our experience full service versus self-service. I want people to call us and say, can I hear this song? I want people to understand that the experience of the radio station is our brand. And our brand should be a handful of things. When you were a kid, and probably some of the fascination you have with radio or TV is that the guy on the radio was a celebrity. And when you saw him at the grocery store and they spoke and you recognized their voice, you'd be excited, right? We need to return that as a part of the experience of radio. Not that we are celebrities and we're above people, but they feel like they're a part of what we do.
Well, what I'm hearing is you love the community involvement, because one thing I always credit WNSB for doing is providing opportunities for local artists. We have a lot of amazing local artists in the Hampton Roads areas, musicians, you name it. You always have an opportunity here. I mean, alternative music, you have an opportunity here. What you're saying is you want the community to be involved, because
absolutely,
like you said, if we have, say, a syndicated show coming from this area and the other area, then we won't be able to, build that community involvement at all. So it's just, I'm liking, that's the whole theme that I'm, picking up with what you're saying. What I'm hearing, what you're saying about is community involvement. One thing I always credit WNSB of doing is providing an amazing opportunity for local artists. We have a lot of amazing musicians in the Hampton Roads area, and you provide an opportunity for them to, hey, you want your music played on, and that can help build the next person. So I think that's awesome. And then what you're saying, have the community call in, call in if you want to hear this song, or call in if you want a birthday shout out or anything like that. You want the community involvement. So I think that's very important, because local stations do kind of fall off in a sense because they're trying to, I don't know. I mean, in my opinion, they kind of fall off.
Well, I think the fall off exists because of what I said. We go and get national acts and put them on our air. We program the music so tight that the on-air personality doesn't have an opportunity to play the right song for that moment. And then we tell our listeners, you're not a part of this. We're playing this music. We're playing this. I guess the situation is we're talking to you and not speaking with you. And, the great thing was, I was a kid and it was 11 o'clock at night. I was 16 and I really liked, Misa Brown, and I could call the radio station and say, hey, I want you to play, that scene from Do the Right Thing where Spike Lee says to Love Daddy, I want to send this out to Tina, right? And that meant that he would call Tina and say, listen to the radio, turn it on right now, turn it on right now. That makes you part of the station, and you get some celebrity sauce because the Love Doctor was talking to you. You were talking to the Love Doctor. Or whoever was that radio personality. So that gives you some celebrity juice on you.
Absolutely.
Tina listens and she's like, oh my God, they said my name on the radio.
I got some brownie points now. Tina, you hear that, Tina? You hear that?
So,
but it's extremely important now with with streaming now. Do you see like for WNSB to always stay and you're growing every time I see it's like something new, whether if it's a brand new station, whether it's new personality add to the station, or new shows. Where do you want to see WNSB at in the next 10, 20?
I think that the radio station needs to be at the center of a creative colony, a creative village that we can provide the community in the university. Obviously, we serve the university and its students, but also serve the community, the immediate community by being able to stimulate conversations similar to this one, have a space for the community to come in and record a show just like this, have a space for the community to come in and have a voice about their government or about their city council or their state government or what have you on the air. And have a place for artists, as you alluded to earlier, to be able to, try out their music and get feedback. Maybe if we have a sound stage where artists can come in and perform for, 60, 70 people and just try out their music, they'll find out, oh, you know what? People are like, we like that or we don't. And that's okay.
I literally just thought of another question when you were talking about where people get the access of, their local politics and things of that nature. A lot of households don't really get the newspaper anymore, nor do they, they read it. So does that make it a little harder for the local radio stations? Because you're that avenue of giving them like, hey, your local news, community activism, local politicians. I mean, because you have some amazing shows. Dr. Eric Clavell, shout out to Dr. Eric Clavell, because he has his 2 shows on there. Does it make WNSB's job a little difficult? Like, okay, look, people are laying away from.
No, I think it makes our job. I think it future-proofs our job. Radio has always been at the center of African American communities in America in a way that it wasn't at the center for others.
Wow.
We often only had one radio station. And so as a result, that station had to play our music, had to have church service, and had to be able to tell us that if we're going to have a march or we're going to protest or what have you, and had to do all those things. And that's why it plays a special place in the African-American community.
Well, look, way to end an amazing conversation. Maynard, I truly thank you again for taking the time out your busy schedule to talk with me. Surprisingly, I wasn't expecting you too. So I really appreciate it here on Arrington's Most Interesting People. Again, we're so honored to be a part of the WNSB family. Again, y'all can hear In Your City every Sundays at 12 p.m. on WNSB Hot 91, the Soul VA. And do me a favor too, download the app too. WNSB app is a free app. You can listen to us wherever you're at. Again, I truly thank you. And thank y'all for tuning in to another great segment I call Arrington's Most Interesting People. Be sure to tune in for the next one where I can sit down one-on-one with the person doing amazing things in their line of work and in the community. We out.